So my name is Elaina Ball, and I'm a native Texan. I currently work for CPS Energy. We're a utility in San Antonio. We serve just shy of 1 million electric customers, and we have about 380,000 natural gas customers. So I serve as the Chief Strategy Officer, which means my job is to predict the future and help us map a way to the future. So I guess that means I'm kind of like the weatherman. I get to be wrong, but I sure as heck I'm going to try not to. So I'm gonna talk a little bit. I was supposed to tell y'all about myself. I'm an engineer, chemical engineer. So I'd rather do thermodynamics than talk about myself. But this is the map of my life, of where I've been and worked for both public power utilities and publicly traded investor-owned utilities, some small ones and some very large ones. But I've spent most of my time here in the great state of Texas. Oh, and I am a rabid UT Longhorn, so just know, yes, hook 'em horns. And I was at the Sugar Bowl, and it was a very long walk back to the hotel, so quiet. CPS Energy's been around actually a little bit longer. Mike's an alum of CPS Energy. It's good to see him. We've been around since 1860. We started as a gas utility, still are a proud gas utility. Little interesting fact, we actually had the first electric light bulb put in the Alamo Plaza actually 6 months before the first generation plant went online in New York. So Texans have been lighting things up for a while. The city of San Antonio bought us in 1942, and I have to say it's probably one of the smartest investments that the city of San Antonio has ever made, maybe many communities. They bought us in 1942 for, at that time, a very large amount of $34 million. But today, we're worth over $13 billion, and we transfer about $450 million annually into their budget that goes to support key city services like fire and police and critical safety services. This is what we looked like in the 1930s. These were our service trucks. They look a little different now. You probably see our teams out and about in their large bucket trucks. But we're really proud of the history, and we're really proud of being part of our community. We very similar to Kerrville, operate in this very volatile market, right? ERCOT is the wholesale market we operate in. And I always try to explain the risk in ERCOT. And sometimes it's really hard because we're a bunch of engineers and we talk about megawatts and we talk about kilowatt hours, and sometimes we'll get really nerdy and talk about reactive power and ancillary services, and you're all falling asleep right now. I can see it. But if I can bring it to a really simple concept, we do produce power. I'm going to talk about the size of our systems in megawatts, right? 1 megawatt on a nice hot summer day will power between 200 and 300 homes. So generally, when the prices aren't too spicy, like right now, we're enjoying a nice early spring. Power prices will probably be about $20 for one of those megawatts for a whole hour. Okay, let's assume you guys are driving pretty energy efficient vehicles and that you fill up for $20. Okay, so think of that megawatt hour as a $20 fill up. When things get really exciting, the power prices, they used to go to $9,000, and we experienced that during Uri, but now they go up to as much as $5,000. So if you were driving around in your vehicle and you thought, well, if I get close to empty, I'm going to have to pull into a station. And by the way, the prices in ERCOT, they change every 15 minutes. So if you're driving around and you're getting low, and you pull in, and at that moment, it could be $20, but it could also be $5,000 for that fill up. What would you do, right? And we have this question. Our peak usage is about 5,700. Kerrville, you heard, was 188. So we have almost 6,000 megawatts that we are responsible for at peak. We are very focused on making sure we're protecting our customers against those high prices. And we do it in a lot of different ways. We do it through hedging and protecting natural gas. Natural gas is one of our key commodities. In total, we have about 80% of our energy coming from traditional sources, big supporters and a large owner in the South Texas Nuclear Project, which are those traditional reactors that the previous speaker just spoke about. We have coal, we have natural gas, and we have a very large and growing renewables portfolio, but about 80% are your traditional forms and about 20 are renewables. And similar to Kerrville, while our community has some very progressive goals to get us to lower and lower carbon standards, emission standards over the next few decades, we're largely stepping into renewables now because they're out competing and they're lower cost than some of the traditional forms. So this kind of shows the geographic diversity. We predominantly have solar and wind. Right now we've got about a 500 megawatt RFP out seeking additional battery storage, because with all of the renewables that have come into Texas and have helped manage costs, they also, I'm kind of a simple person. I grew up in West Texas, so a lot of people talk about how uncertain renewables are. Solar is probably the most certain form of energy we can talk about. I can tell you when the sun's going to rise, and I can tell you when the sun's going to set, and you do it pretty well every day. But those intermittent resources they have created a lot of different dynamics in the market. This summer, we've got tens of thousands of renewables now in the ERCOT market. When the sun sets, the ramp down in energy production was very stark this summer, and it's going to get more and more so. So we see storage as a way to plug in those few intervals, those handful of an hour, maybe 2 hours, where supply drops off quickly. We're going to plug storage into that space and help our customers ride through and help the grid ride through. So where are we headed for the future? I mentioned that our community right now peaks at about 5,700 megawatts on the electric side. We're growing as a community, just people moving in, businesses growing. We're growing at 150 megawatts a year. So think of the size of the Kerrville system that was talked about earlier. We're adding that system every single year. In addition, we are in a position where we have a lot of power plants that have earned their AARP cards. We're closing them not because of a policy or they're less efficient, and we're putting more money in to run them, and they need to enjoy their retirement like we all hope to. And we've got about 2,500 megawatts of conventional units that we're going to be retiring over the next few years. So you can think about this. About half of our capacity is going to come off. At the same time, we're adding 150 megawatts a year. And that's not even including the high interest, extreme interest in data center growth and other manufacturing growth. Texas, one of the most amazing things about Texas is our business-friendly climate, and in ERCOT, our ability to site and get power, get energy to businesses rapidly. We're the destination. We're the 8th largest economy in the world and growing. We're growing faster than any other place. So when I think about my job, and my job is to figure out what are we going to look like in 2050. And as I think about that, the number one thing that keeps me up at night, and Unity from our team is here with me, probably the thing I talk about all the time, is how are we going to fuel our current and our future growth, because it is key for really the health, welfare, and prosperity of our communities. Some other things that we have and we think about, power generation is really key. We also think about our natural gas system, right? We serve, as I mentioned, over 300,000, almost 400,000 customers who we supply natural gas to their homes. We've been doing this for, almost 164 years. We've been in the natural gas business. And as we think about that, we see homes, in our community, 1 out of every 5 of our customers live at or below the poverty line. Homes that are supplied with both natural gas and electricity, on average, have bills that are in total 25% lower than an all-electric home. That's going to change over time. We're going to see with higher energy density machines like the small modular nuclear reactors that we're very interested and bullish in, to other types of technologies we're looking at. We're going to see that change, but probably not rapidly. And part of our objective as being a community-owned utility is to manage affordability, meet growth, and help lift up our community, of which a good portion are currently in poverty. So how we transition our natural gas system is really key. We're working on some really innovative partnerships to look at ways that we can fuel blend. There's some interesting chemical technologies around decarbonizing natural gas and producing carbon black, as well as hydrogen. So we're trying to think about this as a whole energy ecosystem, ultimately viewing it through the lens of our customers and the community that we serve as we're making decisions. The key for my team, I told them put as few words in the slides as possible so I can just talk. This is the wordiest slide. I'm not going to read all these to you. But our long-term plan really speaks about how we evolve our system, our grid. How do we do it while making sure that we're keeping the utility financially viable and that we have investors who will help fund the capital programs that we need. In the next 15 to 20 years, we're going to double our balance sheet. Remember I mentioned that the city bought us for $34 million. We're now at about a $13 billion balance sheet. And because of all of the transition we've got, we're going to double that. So we got to do that in a way that our investors will see us as a good investment. We can keep capital costs low. Our customers, we want our customers to see us as not only as someone they appreciate, but someone they want to do business with. We want our customers to have no desire to be served by anybody but CPS because we take care of them and anticipate their needs. As a team, we have a new CEO, Rudy Garza. If y'all haven't met him, he's terrific. He's also another Longhorn. He's a mechanical engineer, though. I'm joking. My husband's mechanical, so we're always ribbing each other. But Rudy's huge about a concept called One Team. And if you've ever worked in big organizations, they can get odd sometimes. We reinforce every day that we take care of each other. We have each other's backs, and that we promote one another, but we challenge so that we don't let anyone fail. And then, with our community, we're owned by our community. We serve our community. We really are friends and neighbors that this is the job that we do to serve the community. So everything that we're about is trying to reinvest in the community. And I think this is my last slide. And it really is about, for us, given that volatility in the market, given how we need to protect our customers from those extreme conditions, for us, it's about having diversity. You heard Mike talk about it. He said, we're not going to put all our eggs in one basket. We're going to be really intentional about the eggs that we want in our basket and the baskets we want to put them in. And we are going to have diversity. There are a lot of stakeholders who would love to just push us out of certain types of technology. We are going to exit coal by the end of this decade. Again, plants are old and they're not economic. They're getting to where they're not competing as well in the market because they can't move fast like the resources we need. But we've not been shy about saying we're going to need natural gas. It's going to be a bridging technology to some of the newer technologies. I have visited NuScale, right? This SMR manufacturer just a few months ago, and there's 54 different technologies out there in the SMR world, and it's really exciting. But it may take as much as a decade for those commercial reactors to start showing up, and we've got to protect our customers between now and that time. So with that, I think that's all I have. Thank you.